All right, team, let's learn the basics of Photoshop. So first of all, we went to our launch pad and we added Photoshop to our taskbar. All right, so it should appear, we drug it down here into the bar and we added it to our list of tasks. The second thing we did was we took our photographs and we downloaded them. You can find your pictures when you download them. You can double click on your hard drive here and find them in downloads, like so. If you want to take this, I'm dragging and dropping, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to add it over here to the right, and this will become your downloads folder, which is mine is already right here, right? So if you do that, oops, I have my downloads folder right here. So this is, you can see the contents are the same in both folders. If you don't have a hard drive icon here, come find me and I'll help you out with that. All right, so then all you're going to do is just click on your downloads. You're going to choose the picture that you took. So I'm going to choose, let's choose this one here because it's just brilliant. So we're going to choose orange. I'm going to drag it on top of the Photoshop icon. I'm going to let it do its thing here. Oops, hit the green button here, size it to the right window. So you're going to see a bunch of things that are similar to Illustrator. You're going to see your toolbar down the left-hand side over here. You are going to see some menus across the top here that you want to be aware of. Your file, save, edit, all that's very similar. Window, this is an important one. You'll see here I have layers checked. So I see my layers menu over here on the side. Anything that you check or uncheck here will appear or disappear over on the side. So if you're ever missing a window that I'm talking about, you're going to want to find it in the windows over here. Properties will be a big one because that will be all the properties of whatever design element that you're making. You can see these are like drag and droppable here. I can make 2 tabs and all sorts of great fun things. All right, so here's my picture. I'm going to use orange is going to be my adjective. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make adjustments to my image here, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to the black and white cookie. I'm going to click on this. And you can see here, these are level adjustments. So what I can do here is I could adjust the levels, which is an important first thing to do. So I'm going to click on this. By dragging these little towers here, you can see I'm intensifying the contrast here. I'm going to lighten the contrast here, and then this is grays in the middle. I can also decrease the amount of black that's in my image, or I can decrease the amount of white that's in my image too. This is all sort of artist's choice here. However you feel your image is best represented. I'm going to add a little bit more contrast, and I'm going to take a little bit of black out of my image, just so it's a little softer. All right, another thing you can do under the cookie here, I gotta go back to my layers menu, is here I could do any of these. You know, have some fun. One of the great things about Photoshop is that you can just sort of investigate and try some different things. Let's do color balance. Right, that's a fun one. So you can see here how layers and the properties switch. So this is the properties of my color balance. I can change the color of this now. I can add some blue, I can add some magenta, and I can add some red. I can make it more reddish. I can add blue and yellow, and I can take the magenta out and I can make it more green. I can do all sorts of crazy, ugly, horrible things to this, like so. But I do want this to be orange, so I'm going to go to red, and I'm going to go more to magenta here, and I'm going to come back in that direction, like so. Go back to my layers menu. I could add another layer. I can do hue and saturation. Saturation is the amount of color that something has. So if I desaturate, it turns black and white. If I turn it up, it becomes even more orange. So I'm going to turn up my saturation a little bit. And I can also mess with the hue here if I want to as well. So let's say I wanted a yellow bag instead of blue, or I'm sorry, instead of orange or yellow. Let's go. The blue, it seems like it really washes it out. Huh? So let's go yellow. I like the yellow. All right, so go back to layers. So I can see I can temporarily hide each one of these effects that I have going on here, like so. I can see each one separately, however I want to do that. If I want to go back and make some adjustments here, all I need to do is double click on that color balance here, and I can adjust my color balance a little bit more if I want to. Back to layers, I can double click on that and I can adjust my levels. It does matter where you are clicking on your device here, so you can see these buttons here. This is one click. A little closer here. You know, this is your, if I double click on that, it's going to take me to my properties here, right? If I click on this, this is something different. This is something different. And then this is just my adjusting my layers here on the side. So again, you want to be cognizant of where you're clicking on your layer. All right, so that's basically it for that. Super easy, right? If I want to get rid of one of these adjustments, let's say I don't feel like that levels is really doing anything, actually maybe harming me a little bit. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to drag him down into the trash can down here. and I just got rid of that layer. Done. All right, then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my T here. I'm going to click on the T. This is my text tool. I'm going to click here in the middle of my design, and I'm going to write yellow, just like so. Now, if I look up here across the top edge, I can see this is the type of font that I'm choosing here, right? This is the style that it is, regular, bold, all that stuff. This is the font size, right? And then this is justifying it to the center, left, and right, and then this is the color here. So if you want to make it a different color, you want to make it black, whatever you want to do, you can do so, like so. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this font bigger. So I need to select it, so I'm going to use my selecting tool like this, right? It's this tool here. I have these couple of buttons here. You can see when I turn this show transform controls, it shows me the transform controls. I'm going to grab this corner, and while I pull this corner, I'm going to hold down the shift key on my keyboard, and I'm going to pull this on either side. The reason I hold down the shift key is so that it stays in proportion. Once I'm done, I'll see these guys up here, right? This is the go back to where it was. This is the I'm going to commit to my transform, so I'm going to commit to it, right? Like so. Then if I want to change this out, I can go back to the text tool like this. I need to highlight it like I would in Microsoft Word, and I can select a different font that suits my taste a little bit better. I'm going to choose this Writers here. I kind of like that one. I also want it to be black, so I'm going to come up here, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to make this black. Again, you can change it any of these colors here and then select your color inside the palette. I'm going to say OK, transforming tool, turn my transforming controls for a second. Let's make it bigger. Again, hold down the shift key, grab the corners, oops, make it a little bigger. Move it over here. You can see those purple lines as well are the centering lines. I'm going to hit the check mark, and I'm good to go. I can either click on another tool or hide those transform lines, whatever, if I want to see it. Now, the cool thing about this too is if you want to do some simple transforming, I can grab, I can grab the corner of it. When I float my mouse out to the outside, you can see it becomes a turn. Oh, let's do that. That is so weird. Why it's not letting me rotate these letters. Here we go, for whatever reason. So there, so I can rotate it. I can try to put it on that line there. The text is a little bit more tricky to work with in Photoshop than in Illustrator, and what a lot of people will do is they'll actually take their image into Illustrator and then put the type on it in Illustrator, or they will use InDesign to do that. So that's pretty much all there is to that, right? Now the last things you're going to do before you always export anything is you are going to crop this thing, right? So you're going to use this cropping tool here. I'm going to choose width, height, and resolution. I want this to maintain a square, so I'm going to make this 10 inches by 10 inches, and I'm going to make it 150 pixels per inch. And if I wanted this to print on a regular sized piece of paper, since it's 8.5 by 11, maybe I'll make this 8 by 8. So it'll go like that. So then I see my grid on here. You can see my rule of thirds lines in here. I'm going to hit the check mark, and that's going to be my final design. Now what I could do is, let me go to Edit, Step Backwards, very much like Illustrator. I've got this little guy down here in the corner that I don't necessarily care for. So what I might do is maybe I'll shrink these words a little bit. Oops. And then I'm going to go to my cropping tool. Oh, here, let me hit my check mark here. I'm going to go to my cropping tool again. I have 8 by 8 by 150, and I'm going to bring this corner up like that, so I get rid of that corner. And then I'm going to hit the check mark. Boom. Then I'm going to go back to my transforming tool. I'm going to find the center of both places, and I like that. If you want this to be a little bit bigger, if you hold down the Command key and plus, just like an Illustrator, or minus, it'll make it bigger, smaller. You can see my ruler has changed here, and I'm good to go. I'm going to say File. I'm going to say Save As. I always like to save myself a copy of this as a Photoshop document, so I'm going to call this Yellow. Save it on my desktop. Save. OK, maximize compatibility. But then I'm going to save one as a JPEG. Like so, yellow JPEG, I'm going to save it on the desktop as well. Maximum file size, okay. So now I have one on my desktop as well. So here I can see the JPEG is here, the Photoshop one. Now the JPEG is the one I'm going to turn into Schoology for my grade. The Photoshop one is the one that still has the layers. So if I open this one up in Photoshop, see the way it just shows me the background and it's just that one file. But then if I open up the Photoshop document, the Photoshop document still has the layers in there. So you want to remember, if you're not finished working on something, you want to go back and work on it again another time, you want to make sure you save the layers in there. All right, that's all you got to do. Good luck.